Noelle Hopeless Impact here to tell you guys
Whenever you
to
need me,
build your
I'll be there.
fucking Noelles. Alright? And this is how we're gonna do it. Okay? First of all, I'm no slouch with a Noelle. I'm one of the higher damage dealing Noelles on TikTok. But you know what? For a low tier Noelle, alright, throw this entire method out of out of here. Now let's prove that by switching to an account that does not have C6 Noelle, because that changes her entire kit. And we'll get to that later. On my EU account with non C6 Noelle, AR32, see, there is absolutely no excuse to not build your Noelle. You wanna know why? Because a low tier Noelle uses gladiators, which you can acquire from where? Alright, Storm Terror's lair at an extremely low level. Alright, even 4-star versions. Alright, so what you'll do is you'll go into Storm Terror's lair, grab this, and you're gonna bounce out. Alright? That's all you need from Storm Terror's lair is some gladiator set for a beginner Noelle. Okay? We have the Bell, Sacrificial Greatsword. Alright? This one's really good because it provides that energy recharge you need at the beginning of the game. This provides an HP, but you should focus primarily on attack value statted. Now, if you are a player that does buy the battle pass, grab Serpent Spine. It is one of her BIS weapons, and that's pretty much just like a boom. Now you got a pretty good Noelle. So you combine Serpent Spine and the Glad set. You actually have a very functional attack Noelle. All right, should be minimal for any Noelle player is to at least have a attack weapon on her. Another one of my fan favorites at the beginning of the game is the Debate Club. All right, you can literally get some decent damage out of this super easy because it's an attack-based scaler. All right, because it's attack percent with attack. All right, but if you like the balance of the ER issues, Sacrificial Greatsword is such a good weapon at the beginning of the game with Noelle. Let's move on to level Noelle options. All right, once you get 5-star artifacts and you have a C6 Noelle, I will stress that this is a requirement. All right, you will switch your primary stat from attack to defense. All right, so you'll maximize your defense because when C6 hits, you now convert her attack or her defense to attack the second you hit her burst. So now at a high percentile, and it scales with the rest of her kit. So you'll either if you do not have Farina, here's the real kicker. If you do not have Farina, you're going to get Husk of Opulent Dreams because it raises your defense on everything and gives you all the curio effects, defense, and geo damage bonus from its 4-piece set. Now, if you do have Farina, you can use Marchese Hunter, which I don't personally use because it doesn't scale nearly as hard as Husk does in the long run if you're building it very crazily. All right, but for most people, you'll probably want to use Marchese Hunter with Farina. It provides very good stat bonuses. Um, and Marchese Hunter. Do I even have a Marchese Hunter? Marchese? What's that filter? Marchese Hunter. So you'll use this for its value, but the thing is, when HP increases or decreases, so you'll need Farina on attack mode to decrease Noelle's attack or decrease Noelle's HP while she's using her skill and then her burst. So it will constantly heal herself up and down, so she'll constantly trigger this. So since she's constantly triggering it, she has a grand total of permanently 12% more crit rate with more crit damage. So most people, I would recommend, if you have Farina, just build a Marchese Hunter set for Noelle and run it that way. Now, you can still use Serpent Spine, which is a very good weapon, but I'm going to go over some other weapons for a level 2 Noelle. Good options are Skyward Pride for the energy recharge. Personally, I don't use energy recharge that much on my Noelle because I have her set up with a full team of batteries. Alright. You could use for the best one for that gladiators free to play is if you somehow pull Wolf's Gravestone, you can put an attack percent Wolf's Gravestone on Noelle if you don't have Serpent Spine. Unforged is also one. I used to run this really heavily back in the day. Before Stone Thrasher was out, I literally ran Unforged. It was a really good attack-based weapon, and it still is for an attack Noel. So if you're not C6 yet, the Unforged is probably your best in slot with without without Serpent Spine. And then the almighty level 3 Noel, get Red Horn for Noel, and you now have a insane amount of crit damage. Insane. And then it shoves a bunch of defense on top of it. Insane build. So that is how you simply build a Noel. Level 1, level 2, level 3.